Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts. Welcome into Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6, and we're going to be talking more about the Relay for Life coming up. And we have Samantha
Chambly,
and you are here with Relay for Life.
I am. I am actually employed by the American Cancer Society. I am a Relay for Life community manager, so I cover this area and some of the surrounding counties.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're from Shelbyville, you said.
I am from Shelbyville, and I was a Relay for Life volunteer for 10 years before I became employed by the American Cancer Society. I lost my mother to cancer in 2005, and 3 months after she had passed, someone said, "Do you want to be on a Relay for Life team?" And not knowing a clue what it was, I just said yes, because I knew I wanted to take a stand and fight back against what affects so many of us, and I've been a part of it ever since.
There's not many people that we know that's not affected by cancer some way, somehow.
Absolutely. I've talked to a lot of people through this job. Blessed to hear a lot of stories, a lot of survivor stories, but unfortunately we still have to hear the other stories of the loss, and there's not very many I've talked to at all that hasn't been touched in some way.
Tell us about the American Cancer Society.
Well, the American Cancer Society is focused on 4 main things in fighting back against cancer. The research, which is a huge part, that's how we're going to find a cure. Advocacy, we have to have that so we can fight for the rights of the cancer patients. And then our programs and services, so that way we can help those who are battling. And education. People need to know what the early signs are, just different things, how they can get tested, what's out there to help them, things like that.
Yeah. And when we talk about Relay for Life, most people around here, we think about Relay here, but Relay is many places.
It is. It's actually in 5,200 events across the world. It's global.
Wow.
So yes, it's everywhere. It's huge. It's the American Cancer Society's signature event.
Oh, wow. And the concept is of most relays is basically walking around something?
Yes, a track mostly, or some, like in Shelbyville where I started, we do it at the Ag Center, and so it's around the little horse show arena. Sure. So any kind of walking, but the relay aspect comes into it is just one person from each team is asked to be walking at all times. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be in great shape. I hear a lot of people think, oh, I can't do that, but you absolutely can. If you want to fight back, you can join.
That's right. And the concept of relays and raising money, how does that work?
Well, the raising money usually comes from our teams, or sometimes we even have companies that don't necessarily want to form a team, they just want to do a big fundraiser and then they donate the money. So it comes from different ways like that, but the teams usually fundraise year-round is what we promote, and then we come together that one night to all come together as a community and join and just take a stand. And we celebrate the survivors with the survivor lap in the beginning. We have that whole celebration ceremony, and then we remember those we've lost, and together we're just coming together to take a stand to fight back.
We know what happens at our Relay for Life, but what to the others, what's some of the things that's pretty much consistent across the board with relays?
The ceremonies are the consistent thing. We have, the American Cancer Society does have the standards in which a Relay for Life kind of needs to have, and those are your ceremonies. Our biggest thing is the survivors, because that's why we get out there and we do it. They're our honored guests that day. And so we make sure at every event that they are honored. There's usually some kind of special reception. There's definitely the lap, and each one has their unique way of recognizing them, which makes it unique to that community, which is great. Yeah. And then we have the Luminaria ceremony, at dark, when they turn off the lights and all the bags are lit around the track. That is definitely something that needs to be in all Relay for Life events. Whether it be indoors or outdoors, that's something we do. If we have to use candles or we have to use glow sticks, we want to make sure we have that time to remember all those that we've lost.
Yeah, one thing about the whole thing to me is a celebration of life itself, and celebrating the memory of someone, celebrating those who've made it through it, and we hope to hear more and more. And I feel like that we have. Maybe through the American Cancer Society or whatever, or just medical help throughout the time, it seemed like we've gotten better because people have lived longer and some have gotten into remission.
Absolutely. I can tell you, when I started, I was told the American Cancer Society was saving 350 lives a day. Wow. And then now they are up to saving 500 lives a day. So just in the 10 years I've been involved in the Relay for Life program, they've made a huge change and huge improvement over how many lives we save.
And the key thing is, when we're talking about someone in our families who might have cancer, it's hard on the entire family. It's not just, we're really sad for the patient, but it's hard on everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody goes through different ways to deal with it, through coping with it. And, those are things that the American Cancer Society knows and tries to do with their programs and things. We have a website, cancer.org, and it has a program on there called I Can Cope. And it's something that survivors or the family can go on there and use. That's one of the many things that Raising Money helps to have, is those programs. And that's a fabulous one for, like what you said, the families who just don't know, maybe don't even know what questions to ask at the doctor, but just ways to talk them through it and how to get through it emotionally.
Yeah. And when we talk about the amount of money we raise in this community for the American Cancer Society, you might tell people exactly where all the money's going.
Yeah, absolutely. We get that question a lot, where does the money go? And the people here in this community have raised a phenomenal amount of money over the years. I actually did some research this year. We started this event in 1997, and since then there's been $1,300,000 raised just here in Lincoln County, and so that is fabulous. But that money helps the local people buy a place to stay if they have to travel far from home for treatments. We have Hope Lodges across the United States, and so if there's not even a Hope Lodge where someone can stay, we have an extended stay program through hotels and stuff. So we try to get that worry from the cancer patients so they can just worry about taking care of themselves. That's one of our many programs, is if you have to travel from Lincoln County to Birmingham or Nashville, we have a Hope Lodge there that they can stay in free of charge. So the money that we raise here goes to help programs like that. Sure. So it definitely helps the locals in that form. Plus we have a Road to Recovery program that helps get people to and from their treatments. And people here can use that program. We have a Look Good, Feel Better program that the money goes to, that helps with the care of your skin. Everything changes when you're going through treatments, when you're doing chemo and radiation. And so you don't know how to take care of that sometimes, and these programs can help that. And even if there's not one, locally here in this area, I think the closest one is in Huntsville. Their 800 number that houses pretty much everything for the American Cancer Society can send families kits. All they have to do is call and request it. But that number is 1-800-227-2345. And that's a great source for anyone who's dealing with cancer to call, and they can help you with all sorts of things.
Sure. And then when we talk about American Cancer Society, we're also talking about research.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about research, because that's what's made it go from 350 to 500 lives a day.
Absolutely. The research that the American Cancer Society does is, I believe, some of the best research there is. And I'm thankful that I get to live in a state that does some of that great research. When I volunteered in Shelbyville, and I heard a lot, and still do, with what the money staying locally, I tell people all the time that the research we do here, and we spend on the research here in Tennessee, we spend more than we actually raise in Tennessee. So if you want to see if the money stays locally and Tennessee is local to you, then it absolutely does. Because we have Vanderbilt, we have University of Tennessee that does research. Sure. We also give money to St. Jude's in Memphis.
So statewide.
So it is absolutely, absolutely. The research we do here is wonderful, and the progress the American Cancer Society made has been wonderful.
Yeah, and God bless those people who spend that kind of time trying to cure cancer, because hopefully one day we'll hear that there's cure, and there is some help in many areas now. I mean, there's so many people that we'll see at the relay, the survivors who are in remission, and how they were facing death and now could live a normal life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things too that we are focusing on a lot more now is the quality of life after a patient has been in remission from cancer, because that's just as important. As we know that those medicines do things to the body, and we need to make sure that their quality of life after that is just as good as it was before. So that's a lot of research and things they're doing, advocacy and stuff they're doing now for that.
I don't know what it's like, but they're usually, the survivors are very emotional, and you know, it's hard to imagine what they're going through, and I want to do everything that I can to help them, and I think the American Cancer Society's done a really good job with that. And I think the relay is one of the premium events here in Lincoln County. There's people come out from everywhere, and we're at FPU proud to be a part of it. We always have a team, and we always do a video for the whole thing, and it's just amazing looking back at some of the many years that we've done it and how it's come along. And some people who are no longer here, and some people who are still here, just still fighting, and it's a great thing.
Absolutely. This is just my second year with this event, and it has been fabulous. I tell the girls all the time, all the volunteers, I say girls because they're most girls, but their husbands help, but that they're just wonderful. I mean, Relay for Life cannot be done without the volunteers. Absolutely. And the ones here are simply amazing.
That's good. Now tell me about, I guess you have one in Shelbyville. What's some of the other communities that you deal with?
We do. Funny, I actually just still volunteer at the one in Shelbyville. It's not one I actually cover as part of my community, but I do cover the Lynchburg event, the Moore County. There's 2 in Coffee County I work with, Tullahoma and Manchester, and then also Grundy County are the ones that I work with.
Okay. But I think Winchester has them, and I think Giles County, but it's just different.
Oh yes, there's very many. That just happens to be the area that I cover. But yes, they're all around. Almost every county in Tennessee just about has an event.
And the date of ours coming up?
It is May 2nd, which is a Saturday, first Saturday in May, and it is from noon to midnight.
Noon to midnight. Now that's new, and that's a different thing.
That is new.
What does other people do? Do they do? Because we've always done 7 to 7, I believe.
Yes.
So this is going to be interesting because more people can participate during the daytime hours.
Absolutely. You know, originally the overnight event was started because it represented the life of a cancer patient's diagnosis. From the time the sun was set, that was kind of like hearing those words, you have cancer. And then as you're finishing up your event and the sun is rising, it's like being in remission. It's like a whole new day. So that's where the whole thing came from. But they have changed some guidelines as far as that's concerned, and Lincoln County is one who has definitely jumped on board to try that, because we want to make sure we can raise the most money we can to really take a stand and fight back and help as many people as we can. And so being able to change that event from noon to midnight, I believe, allows a lot more people to participate, and also will allow us to raise a whole lot more money that way, because we'll be able to have a lunch crowd. I think we'll be able to have a dinner crowd. We'll have entertainment and auction all in between that, and I think that's going to make just a huge improvement. Not that this event needs much, but I think it's going to just really help it a lot.
I don't know about the other ones, but we always look at this event as a big party, a party with a purpose. Is that sort of the concept of everybody else?
Absolutely. I tell people when they've never heard of Relay for Life, it's kind of like a carnival. It really is. I mean, that's the kind of things you do, but it's about coming together. It's about being a Relay family. I consider all the volunteers I get to work with family, because that's what it is. Somehow every one of us has a story, and we get to come together that day, and whether it's share, be a shoulder to cry on, share the happy times, the good memories, anything like that, it's great. It's just a good time.
And then the rose ceremony is another thing that we do that gives a lump in the throat, and you might explain that a little bit.
It is, and actually Lincoln County is one of the only counties I know of that does that. That was something new for me coming to this area. It's fabulous that they are able to gather that information, but what they do is anyone who has passed away from cancer in the past year since our last event gets a rose presented to the family, and just a special ceremony to remember them, since it's unfortunately so new to the family, but since they have that loss, we want to give them a little special recognition, and I think it's very touching.
From just the cameraman standpoint, as we show that on Channel 6, it sure does give me a lump in my throat. Most of the people I don't know, but a few you will know, and it's sad, but it's good that we remember and think about those folks, and also work with the survivors, and continue to raise money for the dreaded disease cancer. And May 2nd is our Relay for Life. And anything else you'd like to throw out there before we go?
Gosh, I think I've covered just about everything.
Well, I appreciate you coming down.
Absolutely.
To talk to us. And And looking forward to seeing you on May 2nd.
Absolutely, I'll be there with all these wonderful volunteers.
Samantha Chamley.
Yes.
And she's with the Relay for Life American Cancer Society. I appreciate you coming and telling us about what all American Cancer Society does. Looking forward to the relay coming up on May 2nd. We will be there smiling with FPU and hopefully raise a lot of big money. We appreciate you watching on Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6. I'm Don Counts, and we'll see you back in here next time.